My son's eyes tend to linger, longer than most would call usual, and I often wonder if it's just admiration, or something a little more complicated. I'm 39 now, living a life fueled by strength, motion, and a closeness with Logan that other moms might envy but wouldn't understand. At 19, he's not just my child. He's my training partner, my motivator, and, at times, a reflection of myself. We share the same fire, molded by years of sweat, grit, and countless hours perfecting our form on trails, bikes, yoga mats, and most intensely, on the squash court. That court is our ritual, our language, where we compete fiercely, laugh shamelessly, and sometimes lose ourselves in the rhythm of the game. But recently, there's a new tempo emerging between us. Something unspoken. Something insistent. It's been building, louder than the echo of a serve ricocheting off a wall. A decade ago, everything fell apart. My ex-husband's betrayal pulled the floor out from under me. I was 29, a heartbroken woman with a 9-year-old who needed me to show up even when I had nothing left. Logan was my anchor. He'd pull me by the hand, his gray-blue eyes pleading, "Let's go outside, Mom." I didn't want to move, but for him, I did. One slow step turned into a jog. That jog became miles. Miles became a gym membership and eventually a squash racket. Fitness didn't just heal me, it rebuilt me. And Logan was there for all of it. Growing up beside me, counting every achievement, from my first official 5K to the day I finally beat him on the court. He still jokes that he let me win. I don't argue. At 39, I feel like the best version of myself. Strong. Capable. Confident in a way that catches people's attention. Logan notices. He's always noticed. "You're a powerhouse," he said just last week after our cool-down stretch. I laughed, but something about his tone made me pause. That wasn't about my swing or pace. There was something else behind his words. "You look radiant," he added, voice lower, eyes soft and lingering. I brushed it off, but my stomach fluttered. Was it admiration? Or something deeper? Logan's no boy anymore. At 19, he's tall and steady, shoulders broad from weight training, voice calm and slow like his father's once was. He has my hair thick and dark, and his dad's jawline, but everything else is uniquely him. Protective, focused, always watching out for me. Sometimes on our runs, he glances over, saying something under his breath I can't quite catch. Is it pride? Or is it edge of something else? Then came last weekend. The house smelled like maple syrup, and I found Logan in the kitchen, flipping heart-shaped pancakes onto a plate. "For you," he said, smiling shyly, like he'd been planning this moment. I sat, grateful, but the way he watched me, resting against the counter, quiet, eyes tracking my every bite, it felt heavier than gratitude. "You deserve this, Mom," he said, his voice deep and reverent. I smiled, cheeks warm, changing the subject to our squash match later that afternoon. But the air between us had shifted. It was charged, like the sky before thunder. On the court, we gave it our all just like always. We were locked in a tie 8-8. The world shrank to just the two of us. Logan's serve came fast and low. I lunged, the ball catching me just below the waist. Pain radiated, but he was there instantly. His voice low, concerned, lingering. I told him to let the game go, but he insisted we call it. At home, he hovered. "Just rest, Mom," he said, guiding me to the couch. I gave in. He brought water, then disappeared. An hour later, he returned, tray in hand. Grilled chicken, roasted carrots, and a sparkling water bottle I knew he'd gone out of his way to buy. "Dinner in bed," he announced, arranging it like it was a gift. I laughed, touched more than I could admit. It felt like more than caretaking. It felt considered. Thoughtful in a way I wasn't prepared for. After I ate, he cleared the tray, then did something that surprised me. He climbed onto the bed, stretching out beside me. His head settled gently on my stomach, breath warm through the fabric of my shirt. "Say something nice," he murmured, voice almost childlike, yet full-grown all at once. I hesitated, hand suspended above his hair. This closeness wasn't new, but it felt different now. Still, it was real. So I spoke. I told him about the nights I fed him as a baby, how those moments, quiet, still, sacred, shaped everything I became. His eyes stayed closed, heartbeat steady against me. And I just lay there, feeling everything shift again. "You were so tiny back then," I said, smiling faintly as the memory resurfaced. "So delicate." Logan didn't respond, just shifted closer, resting his cheek gently against my chest. The room was still. Only our breathing filled the space between words. I told myself this was normal, just a quiet moment shared between a mother and her son, shaped by years of survival and closeness. But then, his fingers began to move, drawing slow, feather-light circles over the center of my chest. My breath hitched. The room felt heavy again, like the squash court when everything hangs in the balance, just before the serve. I wanted to speak, to make some small, silly comment and shatter the stillness. But I didn't. I stayed still, heart pounding, letting his touch trace lines I couldn't explain. That night, sleep slipped from me like sand through my fingers. I lay there, eyes open to the dark, remembering the shape of the pancakes, the sound of his voice when he called out on the court, the warmth of his head as it rested on me like it had 1,000 times before, but this time felt different. I tried to tell myself it was just tenderness, just Logan being loving, but I knew better. The way he looked at me, the way he touched me, and worst of all, the part of me that didn't want him to stop. The next morning, I woke with a pressure deep in my chest. Not pain exactly, more like a truth I was trying not to admit. At this age, I thought I understood myself, my limits, my identity. But Logan had shifted something in me I wasn't prepared to face. He's not a boy anymore. He's tall, confident, and composed in ways that make people stop and watch. And when he looks at me now, it's not just pride or warmth, it's something more layered, more complicated. That connection we've built through years of shared motion, effort, recovery. It's pulling us into unfamiliar territory. I tied my sneakers with more force than necessary, telling myself that routine would help. Logan was already in the kitchen, his back turned as he blended his post-run shake. Watching him move, so effortless, so solid, made something tug deep in my chest. He's my running mate, my squash partner, my late-night conversation buddy. But last night, when he laid his head on me, it didn't feel like comfort. It felt intimate. And I didn't stop it. Why didn't I? "Morning, Mom," he said, flashing me that crooked smile. "You ready to dominate out there?" His voice was playful, but his gaze held mine a second too long. I forced a grin. Always. Outside, the early morning air was crisp. We ran side by side, our strides syncing like always, our rhythm effortless. It had always been like this, our way of communicating without words. But now, every time our arms brushed, I noticed. And neither of us moved away. When we got home, we stretched in the living room. The quiet between us was easy but full. "Squash later?" he asked. His voice was casual, but his eyes weren't. I paused. That court, it was where this all began. Where the ball struck low and his worry felt too intense, too personal. But saying no to squash was like saying no to us. "You're on," I said, my voice light, my gut nodded. "Get ready to lose," he teased, his grin wide and boyish. I laughed, but something inside me coiled tight. What exactly were we stepping into? The match was heated. We gave it everything. Our breath echoed off the walls. Our sneakers squeaked sharp against the floor. Logan moved like lightning, quick, controlled, determined. I was hyper-aware of his body, of the way his shirt clung to his chest, the tension in his legs, the focus in his eyes. He made a misstep, a serve too wild, and the ball came flying. I ducked instinctively, but he was already there. His hand touched my arm, firm, steady. "You okay?" he asked, voice low, gaze searching. "I'm fine," I said, but it wasn't true. I felt like I was on fire. The score didn't matter. The match ended, but the atmosphere between us, thick and heady, followed us home. That evening, Logan was in nurturing mode again. "That hip still bothering you?" he asked, referencing our last game. I shrugged, lounging on the couch, trying to focus on my phone and not him. He returned a moment later with tea, sitting close. Too close. "You overdo it, you know," he said, his tone gentle but grounded. "Let me help for once." My heart skipped. He was right. I had always pushed myself too far, especially after my ex left. Movement became my proof of strength, of worth. But Logan's care felt layered now, like he wasn't just being a good son. He reached out, brushing his fingers against mine. I froze. "You're incredible," he said softly, his eyes locked on mine. "Not just as my mom, as you." I stopped breathing. That one sentence, a step over the edge. A door cracked just enough. I should have pulled my hand back. Set a line. But I didn't. I looked into his eyes, open, searching, and so deeply sincere, and something inside me shifted. "Thanks, Logan," I said, my voice a whisper laced with nerves. He smiled, but his hand stayed where it was, wrapped around mine, steady and deliberate. The days that followed moved in a blur of habit and heaviness. We ran as always, hit the squash court, laughed between serves and traded inside jokes over smoothies. But everything felt charged. His hand would graze the small of my back when passing behind me in the kitchen. His compliments became more frequent. My form, my strength, the way I moved through the world. Each word held weight. And I let them come. I told myself he was just kind, just observant. That maybe I was imagining things. But then came the morning of the waffles. Heart-shaped again, strawberries placed with care. He greeted me with that same look, gentle but bold. I ate quietly, but every forkful felt like I was agreeing to something I hadn't said aloud. Later that night, I was curled up with a book when there was a soft knock. "Can I come in?" Logan asked before I could answer, already stepping through the door. He was holding a tray, soup, a slice of bread, and a glass of wine balanced perfectly. "You've had a long day," he said, setting it gently beside me on the nightstand. "Thank you," I replied, my voice caught somewhere between gratitude and warning. But he didn't leave. Instead, he sat on the edge of the bed, eyes on me while I ate. When I finished, he lifted the tray and hesitated. "Can I stay a bit?" he asked, voice low, almost tentative. My pulse quickened. I should have said no. I didn't. I nodded. He climbed onto the bed slowly, like he'd done it 1,000 times, but it felt new, different. He lay down, resting his head lightly against my stomach. His breath warm through the fabric of my shirt. "Tell me another story," he said softly, voice half-muffled. I paused. My hand hovered over his head as I began. I spoke of when he was 10 and convinced he could build a campfire on his own. He laughed, his breath brushing against me, and that tug inside me returned, sharper this time. His hand moved again. Slow. Intentional. He traced the edge of my side before resting lightly near my ribs, fingers still, then moving again, drawing faint lines like echoes. I said nothing. I didn't stop him. The room felt suspended, as if even the air didn't dare move. I remembered the baby he once was, the nights I held him close, soothed his tears, the way he always needed me. But now it wasn't the need of a child. He was a man, and the way he saw me had changed. And the scariest part? A part of me didn't want to change it back. I closed my eyes, willing my mind to overrule my heart, but I didn't move. I let the moment exist. Long after he'd gone back to his room, I lay awake, the memory of his touch lingering like heat in my skin. I should have felt horror, shame, but mostly I felt confusion and something else I dared not name. The days since have been a delicate dance. Every run, every squash match, every word we share feels wrapped in a question neither of us is brave enough to ask. I'm still the same woman, strong, driven, The one who beat heartbreak and built something new from ashes. The one men still notice, at the gym or on the trail. And Logan sees it all. "You're stunning," he says sometimes. "You don't even know, do you?" I used to think that was pride in his voice. Now, I hear something more possessive beneath it. And it stirs something in me that I shouldn't let live. Tonight is quiet. I'm sore from another round on the court. Logan's been obsessive about my recovery.
Cooking.
Checking in. His attention intense. He enters without knocking, carrying another tray, salmon, asparagus, a small candle flickering beside the plate. "Dinner in bed, Mom," he says, his voice warm but edged with something deeper. "Thank you," I murmur, throat tight as he sets it before me with care. I eat slowly, hyper-aware of his eyes, watching, waiting like he's reading me. He takes the tray when I finish, but doesn't leave. "Mind if I stay?" he asks. I should have drawn a line. I didn't. He climbs in beside me like it's the most natural thing in the world. His head finds its place against my stomach again, his breath steady, calming, and not. "Tell me something nice," he says, a whisper against my shirt. I falter. Then I speak, returning to old memories. Holding him in the hospital, rocking him through colic, whispering lullabies into the dark. "You are so small," I say, voice catching. "So perfect." He doesn't speak, but his hand moves, lightly, carefully. It finds the curve of my chest and draws shapes there, deliberate and slow. My breath holds. I should stop this. I don't. Because beneath the ache of guilt is something older than shame. Something quiet, magnetic. Because he's not a boy anymore. He's a man. And the way he touches me isn't innocent. It's deliberate. And I'm letting it happen. His fingers pause, then trace lower, resting where the squash ball hit me. "I want to check it," he says, his voice soft but firm. "Make sure you're okay." My heart pounds. "It's fine," I whisper, but he shifts, propping himself up, his face inches from mine. His eyes search me, not as a son, but as something else. "Let me," he says, and his hand moves to my hip, gentle but purposeful. I freeze, my mind screaming to stop, but my body betrays me, staying still as his fingers brush the bruise. His touch is careful, but it's not just about the injury. It's a question, a plea, and I'm not answering because I'm terrified of what it means. The candle flickers, casting shadows on his face. He's so close, his breath mingling with mine. "You're everything," he whispers, and the words crack something open inside me. I see it all. The heart-shaped pancakes. The way he rushed to me on the court. The nights he's lain here. His touch growing bolder. I see the man he's become. The way he sees me, not just as mom, but as a woman. And I see myself letting it happen, craving the warmth of his attention. The way it fills the void my husband left. His hand stills on my hip, and he leans closer.
My heart is a drum.
My mind a storm. I should push him away. Say something, anything to break this. But I don't. His lips brush mine. Soft, hesitant, like he's testing the water. For a moment, I'm lost in it. The warmth, the pull, the forbidden thrill. We kiss. And it's not a son kissing his mother. It's a man claiming something he's wanted. Something I've let him want. It's brief, a heartbeat, but it's enough to shatter everything that I pull back, my breath ragged, my hands shaking. My voice finally breaks free, raw and cracked. "Logan," I whisper, like saying his name might wake us both from something too fragile to name. His eyes widen like he's surfacing from a dream. "I'm sorry," he breathes, his words soft, barely there. But he doesn't pull back. His hand still rests on my hip, his face close enough that I can feel his breath against my skin. I shake my head, tears burning behind my eyes. We can't," I say, but the words carry no weight. They're thin, trembling, and the worst part is, I don't even believe them. He nods slowly, accepting what I've said even if we both know how little I meant it. The air between us is sharp, raw, like a wound we've both touched too many times to pretend it isn't there. He eases back down beside me, his head gently settling against my stomach again. No words, no movement, but his fingers resume those same quiet, careful lines across my shirt. Softer now, less certain. I stare at the ceiling, every thought unraveling faster than I can catch it. What are we doing? What am I allowing? Logan, my son, my blood, I protected him, loved him like my son. But lately, that love has twisted, become something warmer, darker, needier, something dangerous. And the truth I can't outrun?
Part of me wanted it.
Part of me still does. The guilt is heavy, pressing into my chest like an anchor. But the longing, just as strong, pulls at me from the inside. I think of all the moments that led here, the way he's always watched over me, cheered me on, stood by me through every storm. The squash court, the heart-shaped breakfasts, the quiet nights. I think of the woman I've become, resilient, sure, but still scarred in places no one else has ever touched. Not since I lost everything. And then there's Logan.
Steady.
Quiet.
Loyal.
Someone who's always seen me, not just as a mother, but as a whole person. This moment, this blur of want and guilt and silence, it's not just about him. It's about me. About the space I've let open. The warmth I've leaned into. The ache I've tried to deny. The candle beside us burns low, its glow soft on the walls. I know we can't stay like this. This fragile place between what we were and what we're becoming, it can't last. But for now, I don't move. I let his hand linger, because I'm not ready to let go. Not yet. Tomorrow, I'll rebuild the wall.
Redraw the lines.
But tonight, I just let it be. And as sleep slowly pulls at me, with Logan still breathing softly against me, I ask the question I don't want answered. Have we gone too far? And if we have, can we come back? The thought chills me. But one thing is certain. This isn't over. It's only beginning. Whether we face it side by side, or end up pulled apart by the very thing that once held us together, I don't know if I'm ready. The next morning, I avoid his eyes. Logan is quiet as he flips more pancakes in the kitchen, heart-shaped again. The scent fills the air, warm and familiar, but it lands heavy now. Like a ritual that's lost its innocence. You okay? He asks, his voice soft, unsure. I nod, but something tightens in my throat.
We need to talk.
We need to fix this.
But I don't know how.
Squash later, he offers, like maybe a game can help us find our footing again. I hesitate. The court has always been our place, but lately, even that feels tainted by the shift between us. Still, I nod. Sure. I manage. Maybe the motion will ground us. We play with caution, the heat between us dimmed. His serves are slower. He keeps distance when we move. It's like he's afraid to get too close again. And maybe he should be. Back home, I take a breath and sit him down. Logan, I say, my voice firmer this time. Last night, what happened can't happen again. His shoulders drop. His expression falters.
I know, he says.
I'm sorry. His voice cracks, and my heart aches. Not just for him, but for both of us. For everything we've been, and everything we've just risked. We're a team, I remind him, taking his hand. Always. He squeezes back. And for the first time in days, it feels like us again. Not easy. Not whole. But honest. We agree to keep going. Keep running. Keep playing squash. But this time with boundaries. It won't be simple. The air between us still hums with tension, a quiet echo of what we almost became. But as we lace up our shoes and head out, side by side, I feel something I didn't expect. Hope. We've crossed a line. But maybe, just maybe, we can find our way back.